Alright, my pals, what's happening? Fucking shitty night out there the night. My wee boys away to Stevie's wee pal. So got to go after myself, just me and my reptiles. But I've just been sitting I was sitting writing a bit of my book there, and it was just causing this tide of old memories and make me think of mad stuff and all that kind of shit. And I was like, I'm putting this down for a while. I love writing, but when you're writing about yourself, it gets a bit mentally taxing, if I'm honest. I had written a book before in prison actually. It was like my life story but I don't have the manuscript anymore, and I remember how mentally taxing it was. Like sometimes you would be like on a high, on a roll, and it would just be fucking spewing it, you know what I mean? And then you would just get days where you would just try and write it, and it would just be like, fuck yes, know what I mean? Um, so I just thought I'd put it away for a bit and that. I haven't really been at it for a couple of weeks, maybe about 6 weeks or something, but fuck, it is what it is, innit, man? You can only do what you can do. And funnily enough, I was researching what to do for a video, right? And ironically enough, I was watching, see David Swindle. He was was high up in the cops anyway, like he caught Tobin and all that, right? And I was watching him on Lad Bible, and the interviewer said to him, what's the most violent crime scene you've ever seen, right? And I was like, I was expecting him to say fucking one of Tobin's, right? And he was talking about he was talking about the most violent murder scene he'd ever been to, and it just brought back this memory, which is the basis for my story, right? So this goes back to 1997, right? Which was the first time that I had ever seen the inside of a prison. Now, I think if any's have watched any of my older videos, I was 15 years old in 1997 and was remanded in custody for an abduction charge, abducting two social workers with a knife, right? I wasn't the same person that I'm on now, right, obviously. Like night and day, but anyway, um, I had went into Berlin and all that, but I didn't get out the reception. Obviously, being a schoolboy, it's illegal for them to keep you there, know what I mean? Maybe 16 they'd get away with it, but no under that age. And I went to Longreg End Remand Centre for a week, which isn't there now. It was near Airdrie. So I was in Longreg End for 7 days, and after my 7 day lie down, I went back to Glasgow Sheriff Court, got a fully committal, and then got sent to Care Law Secure Unit. Now this was November 1997, right? And I'm one for remembering weird true crime cases, right? And I remember reading this case about a guy from Irvine, I think he was for, right? And what he was charged with was murdering his girlfriend and decapitating her with a fucking whirligig of all things, right? Now, I remember reading that and thinking, he's got to be fucking crackers, man. And it was saying, one thing I remember in the papers was it was saying how um, he'd flipped out. Now, this lassie was significantly younger than him, like 17, 18, and he was like mid 30s, right? So, I don't really know, like, like how they met or whatever, I don't know all that, right? But I always remember reading that because the guy was sent to Carstairs, right? Because he's fucking bonkers. I'm sure he was saying things like when he cut her head off, there was like an alien's head that grew out of the stump in her neck and all that. And I was like, what the fuck? Right? So obviously, there's definitely mental health issues there, do you know what I'm talking about? And that case always stuck out in my mind, but I could never remember the guy's name. I just could always remember that case, and like that was that. So, um, funnily enough, um, after I was in Kerlaw for like a year, I'd been in Kerlaw about a year, right? And as I've explained before, how like I was always fighting in there, always arguing with staff. A lot of it was like I was just I was just an angry person back then. Obviously cause of the kind of the shit to do with my dad, just my self presentation, maybe mental health stuff. I don't know. But the staff were like, "Oh, you'll no be the big man up in Pullman and all that." And I was like, "Ah, is that right? I fucking send me up then." So I ended up being transferred to Pullman in November 1998 after absconding from a fucking uh, a home visit. So as I've explained in another video how the day before I was being transferred to Pullman, I asked for like a home visit to visit my grandma, right? And I was only 16 at the time, and I wasn't handcuffed, so I absconded for that visit, and fucking ended up with the fucking heavy mob dragging me out my pal's house, and I got another charge for that. But when I went to Pullman, how long had I been in there? I'd been in Pullman about 3 years, and I was just heavy playing mad games with the shrinks and all that, which resulted in me being sent to Carstairs for an assessment, right? A 4 month assessment, so I was there for 4 months, right? And I remember the canteen in there was like canteen in jail. When you're in the jail, you get a sheet. It's like a big list of items, and you can tick how many you want. So say it says like so. There's like all different sections: crisps, confectionery, ginger, fucking whatever, right? And you can just tick how many. So you write bullseye and brew. You want two, right? You just write it down, right? But in Carstairs when I was there, which was from June 2000 until September 2000, right? Um, when you go to canteen in there, it's like an actual shop. It's like going into like a fucking RS McCall's. There's aisles and you could buy trainers and tracksuits and all this fucking shit. I remember buying a pair of trainers in the fucking shop up there, right? Um, just like they've got, know how when you go into like a corner shop or an RS McCall's or whatever, they've got the big deep freezes, you slide it open at the top and they've got like fucking cornettos and all that, soleros and all this shit, right? So I remember when we used to go up there, right, and I remember there was this older inmate who was a good laugh and all that, but he kind of reminded me of Sloth at the Goonies, right, with hair. Right, it was just a bit kind of bit mental. He was in for stabbing fuck out his brother, and he was from Dundee. His name was John, right, and he was diabetic, right. So the nurses wouldn't let him buy anything with sugar in it, right, and he used to pure do that to me. Gonna buy me fruit and nut bars. What's the other ones? Fruit and nuts and fucking oh fuck knows, right? But they look like the same fucking chocolate bars, right? Like fucking say it's dairy milks and fruit and nuts, right? And he used to do that to me here. See if you get me a couple of bars. He's like, I'll dance to the real Slim Shady and all that, right? It was mental, this guy, man. And the real Slim Shady, the Eminem tune, was like number one in the charts at the time. And I remember he used to walk about with slippers, right? His belly hanging out his fucking polo shirt, his arse hanging out the back of his trousers and all that. He was just a laugh, this guy, man. And I remember we were all sitting in the, like, it's like mad, this part of Carstairs, right? So there's like a bit where you can go in and buy fucking this and that, right? And one of yous would get shouted out at a time, but see, while the rest of yous were waiting, yous would be waiting in this big kind of, one bit's the library, and the other part is, it's like joined onto it. It's like there's like chairs and a big telly and all that shit, right? So we would all be sitting there while they're shouting people out to get their canteen, and sometimes there would be other people for like the other parts of the hospital in there, because they had been there. They weren't like just getting assessed, they were there now. That's like their fucking stein here, sort of thing. And I remember that wee John, man, fucking, I got my couple of bars of fruit and nut and all that, and he'd be standing going, I'm Slim Shady, I'm Slim, standing in front of the telly, man. And the nurses were pure billing because I'd give them bars of chocolate. I didn't think there was anything, I didn't know what diabetes was, fuck's sake. I just thought, fucking guy wants a fucking bar of chocolate, know what I mean? I wouldn't do that now right enough, know what I mean? Because obviously they would need to keep tabs on your sugar intake, not, so obviously it just shows you how kind of stupid I was, know what I mean, or how uninformed I was. But I always remember, right, one time I was up there and I met this guy, right, who wasn't in the ward I was in. And I can't mind how I got talking to him, but I ended up like that to him, what you in for, not? He's like, murder. He's like, aye, who'd you murder? He's like, my girlfriend, I'm sure he said she cast evil spirits over my house, she was a witch and all that. And I'm like, fuck's sake. Didn't think it near until he was saying what he had done, obviously, and then it hit me like that was him I read about in the paper. Know what I mean? And I was like, fucking, at the time I was like, fuck's sake. There was just, see, like when you're talking to somebody, right, and you see this in jail a lot, you can always, people say you don't know a psychopath when you meet one, right? And for a lot of the times that is true. But see, in prison, I'm not talking about in Carstairs, I'm talking about in prison, every so often you'll come across somebody, right, who's just got shark eyes, man. I mean, they look blank and glassy, but you can just tell they're fucking sucking in information, looking right through you. It's just, you just know. But this guy wasn't psychopathic, obviously he was psychotic. The difference being that psychotic or mentally ill, psychopaths are mentally ill, they're in control. And I remember just thinking, mate, you're fucking gone with the wind, man. And it always, like, I always wondered I couldn't remember what this guy's name was, right? So I'm sitting doing a bit of research into another totally unrelated thing, because I always wanted to kind of like tell this wee story, but I couldn't be fucked with it because I couldn't remember the guy's name and talk about the case or whatever. And then when I was watching that Lad Bible thing earlier with David Swindle in it, the guy says to him, what's the most violent crime scene you've ever been to? And I was honestly thought he was going to say like fucking Peter Tobin, done this, done that, whatever, right? And he said a guy, Brian Fairney, who basically butchered his girlfriend, decapitated her with a whirligig, leading to the moniker by the tabloid newspapers, the Whirligig killer. And I was like, fucking hell, that was him. So I had no idea. I imagined the guy would have still been in, because this case wasn't that high profile, if I remember right. Like, it was like maybe half a fucking mention, and see like half a page in the Sunday Mail or the fucking News of the Screws, whatever it was, right? And it wasn't one of the ones, it was like instant recognition. You would just know straight away, like if you said like fucking there's like Peter Tobin, everybody would know who that was, right? Well, anybody that knows anything about true crime, policing, criminal justice would just know straight away. But nobody would really know about this case, and I just find that so fucking sad, right? And I know some people like your hard liberals or whatever would maybe go, but the guy was mentally ill and all that. Well, aye, right? He was mentally ill, but fucking some poor lassie lost her fucking life at the hands of a fucking maniac. Um, and that just, it's like it gets lost to time. And a lot of the times when I come on and talk about these things, it's not to fucking talk about offenders and give people some sort of fucking glorification or a platform to remember them. A lot of the time for me it's to talk about the victims. And it was funny because somebody left a comment saying about it, because I done a video the other day about that scumbag Stuart Leggett, right? And as I say, I always remembered that case because I'd just been sentenced a couple of months before it. And it was a high profile case and all that. Somebody says, oh, there's a documentary on Netflix. But I didn't have a Netflix account. So I ended up just getting a fucking Netflix account and watching that documentary. And wow, man, that hit me differently. Seeing that poor wee boy's fucking brother breaking his heart. Seeing his ma, and it just see looking at it through a victim's eyes, no looking at it through the killer's eyes, because to be honest, man, sometimes I'm fucking sick of doing that, like, and sometimes I think it definitely impacts you, because it's just no images you want in your head sometimes, but sometimes I go, it's maybe for the greater good. It puts me forewarned is forearmed. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think so. And other people might go, oh, you're looking too much into it, and da 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 da. Well, aye, well, maybe I do, but at the end of the day, looking too much into a lot of things is the reasons that I'm still fucking breathing and no in prison or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So if it works for me, then fuck it, innit? But my point was, this case wasn't really, it's no like remembered, and this is what I'm saying, it's like this poor lassie memory could be lost to time, like nobody's got to remember after fucking how long, and that just saddens fuck out me, you know what I mean? And funnily enough, I had actually, when I was coming on to do this video, I thought, you know what, I'm going to Google that and see like whatever comes up, right? And funnily enough, this guy, Brian Fairney, the so-called Whirligig killer, who had met briefly in Carstairs one time about fucking 20 odd year ago, died the year I got out of prison, 2019. But interestingly, he had been sent to a less secure hospital, some ward in Stobhill Hill. I imagine it still would have been a locked ward, considering what the fuck he done, know what I mean? Because you don't want somebody like that just walking out the pitch, know what I mean? Roaming the fucking streets. And it said that somebody had fucking stabbed him in the eye with a pen, so you don't know what's been behind that. I can relate to getting fucking stabbed with a pen in the eye, you know what I mean? But fortunately, I've still got my 2 mince pies, you know what I mean? But I just want to read this wee article. When this fucking nutter died, right? Hold on, what's the date on it? 7th of April 2019. So this is only a couple of months before I got out of Kilmarnock. It says, killer that decapitated teen girlfriend with Whirligig clothes pull dies in hospital. Victim Angela Thompson's dad said the death of killer Brian Fairney gave the family peace of mind that he would never be freed. Understandable. A killer who chopped off his teenage girlfriend's head with a Whirligig clothes pull has died in hospital. Victim Angela Thompson's dad, that's the bit I've just said as well. Fairney discharged himself from a psychiatric ward weeks before he decapitated 17-year-old Angela with the pole in 1997. He'd been held in secure units ever since and died of liver and organ failure. Angela's dad, Derek, said the family had feared he could one day be released. And I kinda get that, because see, when it's a mental health case, it's different, man. It's like, oh, you weren't responsible for your actions, you were psychotic at the time, but doesn't mean to say you'll get out, but it's a totally different kettle of fish. Derek, 70, of Irvine Ayrshire said, I'm not joyful at the fact that someone is dead, but I'm not happy about it either. He'll not be missed. We were always concerned that he'd one day be free to walk the streets, which would have been very wrong. I totally agree with that. I don't care if you're mentally ill or no, nobody that's ever done anything like that should ever fucking go out, man. Know what I mean? Chopping somebody's head off. Fuck's sake, man, that's nuts. It gave us a little peace of mind to know that'll never happen. We were given a promise in the past that we would be told if he was ever to be released. That's not going to happen now, so it is satisfactory in that sense at least. We miss Angela very much, and she will never be forgotten. Fearnley was held at the State Hospital Carstairs for more than 20 years after his appalling crime. Last year he was transferred to the medium secure Roanbank Clinic, where he was attacked and badly injured. He died aged 55 at Glasgow Royal Infirmary on March 23rd from medical complications including liver failure. Sources said he weighed more than 20 stone before his death due to the side effects of medication and a lack of exercise. Police were called last June after a patient stabbed Fearnley in the eye with a pen in a ward at the clinic. A leading psychiatrist called for changes in mental health laws in wake of Fearnley's horrific killing of Angela in 1997. The High Court in Glasgow heard Angela was bludgeoned to death and decapitated with a Whirligig dryer in the back garden of Fearnley's home a month after he had discharged himself from a psychiatric ward. Fearnley, also of Irvine, was charged with her murder, but Judge Lord Kaplan ruled he was insane and unfit to plead or stand trial. During evidence in 1997, the High Court was told of Fearnley's violent background and how he spoke of seeing evil shadows which were trying to kill him on the walls of his home. It emerged he spent time as a psychiatric patient in Crosshouse Hospital, Kilmarnock, shortly before killing Angela, but that doctors had no power to detain him. Fearnley had been in contact with psychiatric services since 1992. Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Charles Lynn told the High Court in 1997 that many aspects of mental health legislation would have to be revisited. He said, if we look in general at cases involving alcohol or drug abuse leading to apparent mental instability, we are not permitted to detain any patient unless it is clear that there is illness underlying the effects of the intoxication. Even if there is a strong case for detention, the limit is 72 hours. The NHS last week said it was unable to comment. Fucking what a case, man. But I just assumed the guy would have still been locked up in the puzzle factory, you know what I mean? But it's quite sad for that lassie's family and that, know what I mean? It's fucking, I can't, as I keep saying, can't imagine what any of them are going through, know what I mean? Like, especially something like that, know what I mean? It's just absolutely fucking horrific, and it doesn't bear thinking about. And that sometimes I like to do this so that people, it does bring awareness to people about these like innocent people that have lost their lives and all that, know what I mean? Because everybody wants to know about the offender, and I totally get that, because I'm kind of the same. It's like, you want to know what made them do it, because it's like, what people go, but why did they pick my son, my daughter, my brother, my husband, whatever? Like, there's no always a reason. It's just whatever the fuck side of bed an offender wakes up that day. I'm talking about your apex fucking offenders, apex predators, or that, no, like somebody who try to get a fix and ends up robbing a shop and killing whatever, right? No, I'm not talking about that. That's just, they're just tragic, sad cases, man. Know what I mean? I'm talking about somebody doing it for fucking, it's stamped in them, know what I mean? It's like part of what gets them off, whatever, know what I mean? But just a unique, horrendous case, man, do you know what I mean? And I don't even know if there was changes to the mental health legislation after that. I didn't really look into it, but I thought it would just be something that I'd come on and just talk about while my wee boy is away out and I've got the gaff to myself and a bit of time in my hands and all that. So I've got my class tomorrow afternoon, so that'll break up my day. And I maybe come on tomorrow night, I don't know. But I hope you are all having a good night, and I'll speak to you next time I'm on. You take care. Good night.